Welcome to PODZILLA, a digital discourse in pop culture. Please enjoy the show.
Welcome back to PODZILLA. It's a digital discourse in pop culture. I'm your host on this journey through lights and magic, and my name is David. And today, joining me on this very special episode is my sweet baby brother, Jonny Smith. Say hello, Jonny. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. It's I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, man. I'm happy you're here. So, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and just tell the people that listen what you do and who you are and what you're about?
For sure. My name is Jonny. I am David's younger brother, and right now I am technically just started my second year at Full Sail University. I'm an animation student, so been studying computer animation for over a year at Full Sail. My goal with college, with this animation path in college, is to eventually become a Disney Imagineer. I want to work at Disney World and help bring attractions to life. And I don't know if, I believe, have you been on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway?
I haven't yet, no.
That ride,
not yet.
For anybody watching or listening to this that has been on that ride, you should know that animation plays a big part in that ride. Like, I'd say around 80% of the visual parts of the attraction itself are animated, 3D projection mapped, and it's incredible. So that's the kind of stuff that I hope to do in the future. Cool. Once I graduate, is to go and be a Disney Imagineer.
But a park-specific Disney Imagineer.
Yeah. Magic Kingdom, just kind of the Disney World specific. Wouldn't mind going out to Anaheim, but that's not really where I'm at right now. I live in
I'm sure you
the
also
Orlando area.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'm sure you also wouldn't complain working at other avenues like Universal Studios doing stuff there and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean,
you're on the right track.
In paths like this tend to open doors in places that you wouldn't even expect. Like Disney Plus just had the Into the Unknown, not just, but probably a year, maybe 2 years ago, they had Into the Unknown come out. That was like kind of the behind the scenes making of Frozen 2. And I was watching that with my wife, Rachel, and just thinking to myself, man, I would actually love to do that, kind of the pre-production animation side of working at just Disney Studios or even Pixar or, I mean, Blue Sky just closed. So sad. But, I mean, DreamWorks, it opens the doors to avenues for that kind of stuff. And I'm super stoked to
That's awesome.
Be able to, I can apply. I might not get it, but, who knows?
Yeah.
You never really know what doors will be opened,
Yeah. So in addition to doing Full Sail, studying animation, you also host and DM a D&D Disney-inspired podcast. Yeah. What's the official sales pitch for your podcast that you do?
The tag is, it's called Keys to the Kingdom. Keys to the Kingdom is a Disney-inspired Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition homebrew podcast. Basically what that means is we play 5th edition D&D, but I make up all the rules because I'm the DM, and that's how D&D works. And the world that the characters play in is basically just if you mashed a bunch of classic Disney movies into a cake, and then that is the world that they play in. So there's the Sherwood Forest, the 100-acre woods. Then you have places like Cinderellaburg and the stately chateau and Triton's Bay, which is kind of near Ariel's Grotto. And it's just this vast world of classic Disney movies kind of crammed into a single island in this world. And it's
classic Disney movies and classic Disney attractions too.
Yeah.
Like there's some Disney World like lore in there as well. It's not just cinema or cinematic centric.
Yeah.
It's also, there are also parts of Disney entertainment that aren't movie, that aren't movie specific, but are just,
yeah.
park specific or stuff like that.
There's only been one, and
Yeah.
it was those. Technically, there's 2 episodes, but we had an amazing guest, a character named Augustus Richmond, and played by David Smith.
Yeah.
He did an incredible job, and those episodes are some of my favorites, honestly. Like, I was actually just re-listening to, I think it's episode 10.5. Not going to spoil anything, but it has a pretty climactic ending, and I was just re-listening to it, like, man. So that one... And
that one has a pretty good original score too.
It does. Also created by you.
Yeah. I'm not tooting my own horn, but
no, but
it's
you should.
Pretty sweet.
It's
pretty sweet.
Incredible. There's a fight sequence that happens, and it's incredible. So without giving too much away, it's based off of the original concept, design, and story for the Haunted Mansion. With a few tweaks to kind of connect different story and plot lines that had already been running. And you actually helped me write story beats in that adventure in those 2 episodes where the characters that are on the show, they met you and went to the Haunted Mansion. So that's all I'm going to say about that specific episode. But if you love Disney and you're a nerd, even if you're not like super into D&D, I get it, but just give it a shot. Just give it a try. It might surprise you.
It's very entertaining. It's very fun, and you've got a good crew. You've got a good crew of people. Like, I mean, you obviously are the showrunner as far as creating as far as creating world and creating story, but then you also have people who are doing it with you who are doing a great job of being characters that have to adapt and live within that world. So, everyone from your wife to some of your best friends to they're really, I feel that right now is a great time to get into Keys to the Kingdom because it's definitely starting to hit its stride. It's
been so much fun, and just having the ability to have awesome guest stars like you. We had our sister Brittany and her husband Seth, Brittany J. Smith. She's also incredible. She actually did the theme song for Keys to the Kingdom. So if you like good soundtracks, Keys to the Kingdom actually has a pretty good repertoire right now of pretty solid soundtracks, different original music and scores that have happened in different episodes. You guys, everybody check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just go ahead and get started talking about the original intent of this episode of PODZILLA, because this has kind of been like a long time coming as far as the anticipation for... Everybody pretty much knows who clicked on this episode because I'm sure it's titled In the Hype. But we're going to talk about the movie coming out called In the Heights, which was a Broadway musical by Lin Manuel Miranda that won tons of Tonys and has kind of been in this development theatrical release limbo for like a decade at this point. And we were just going to chat about that because we're both fans of musical theater. We're both fans of Lin specifically. We're both fans of In the Heights specifically. And I've been following for 2-3 years now. I've been following the process of this movie being made, and it's been a long process of this movie being made.
It's taken forever.
Right. And it's moved from hand to hand as far as production companies. The rights were purchased and owned by Harvey Weinstein at one point, and then after all of his crap and allegations that went down, it was released back into the wild, and then obviously given some trust with John M. Chu, who's directing it, who obviously has done a lot of Step Up movies and stuff like that, as well as Crazy Rich Asians and some other stuff. So let's talk about In the Heights, specifically like let's rewind the clock for the two of us, specifically with you, because the reason that I think, like I said, we come from a family that loves musicals, musical theater, Broadway, love all that, love Stephen Sondheim, love just Broadway in general. So that's one thing. But then specifically, In the Heights strikes a very specific chord with us for a couple reasons. There's more than just the surface level of we love musicals, but then specifically for us, the musical In the Heights, for anybody who doesn't know, do you want to kind of give like a brief synopsis, or do you want me to?
I can if you want me to.
Go for it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So In the Heights is the story about a small corner of New York called Washington Heights, and I don't know if I want to go into too much detail about this, but basically, there's the main character's name is Usnavi. He is he's from the Dominican Republic. His heritage is from the Dominican Republic, and he. His parents, when he moved to Washington Heights in New York, his parents opened a kind of a mom and pop Stop and Shop. And basically his parents passed away, and he has taken over the shop and been running the shop by himself for a number of years in Washington Heights. And
it's kind of, the story kind of takes place from his specific narrative perspective, right? Of his life in Washington Heights. And he's living in a certain moment in the summer, in July, where New York and specifically Washington Heights and the barrio that he lives in are facing a lot of changes as far as stores are being bought up, rents getting higher. People are moving out of this area of New York that is their home because it's just getting too expensive. But there's a very specific culture and people there that are, just kind of the musical takes place. The original musical, I believe, takes place. I think we gathered over 2 days around 4th of July, on 4th of July, and then I believe the day before.
I think it's
4th of July?
The day before, the day of, and the day after. I think. No, 2 days before, the day of, leading up to that night, and then the day after.
Something like that.
Because
I want to say
might be
it's
going
2
into
days.
spoilers, but the first night he goes to the Rosarios. Sorry,
Right.
Mr. Rosarios.
I think that's 4th of July.
No,
'Cause then they go to the club after that.
They go to the club right after that. So it
And then
might be
there's
4th of
fireworks.
July, and then the day after 4th of July, and then the next day. Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe-
so
Yeah.
we're doing a bad job at explaining this in a nutshell. It's about a group of people who live in Washington Heights who are slowly watching their home, their street
Barrio.
corner that they've grown up on is slowly changing and evolving, and they're having to come to terms with that. It was originally written by Lin Manuel Miranda when he was in college, I believe.
Yeah. He was in college, and it was that's crazy. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it was revised after he got out of college.
Sure.
Professionally revised before it hit off Broadway and then eventually on Broadway. But writing a story like this, and as far as I have seen, and you can correct me if you know any different, but he kind of wrote it based loosely off of his own story coming.
Yeah, it's a somewhat autobiographical musical about his experience being Puerto Rican, his family moving to the States for more opportunity, and kind of writing a musical about that. But the reason that, it very specifically resonates with you and I and our family and our mom is because that story of a Hispanic family packing up, moving to America for a better life, for more opportunity, to have a better life for their kids is exactly our family's story.
Yeah. We are first generation Americans.
We're first generation Americans on our mom's side. You know, she moved to New York City at 6 years old with her family, lived, in New York City. Like there are so many parallels of kind of some of the ideas and the heart behind In the Heights, as far as, we're not Puerto Rican, we're Uruguayan, but we're, I'm sure our listeners can tell that Jonny specifically is Spanish, but I'm just as Spanish as Jonny is. I just happen to have more of I'm technically 15 months more Hispanic than Jonny.
It's accurate.
Technically speaking, but
it's just because I moved to Florida.
Yeah, that was when you. But I got the dad side as far as complexion and eye color, but we are Hispanic and we're first generation American born Latin Americans. But that's why this musical is like, more so than any other musical, I feel like, so exciting to see kind of the representation of Hispanic culture in a movie like this. That's not, it seems like so many movies, the Hispanic character is always kind of like
goofy,
the funny, like the funny, fast talking Hispanic guy, or the thugs,
and Ant-Man,
exactly, like the funny comic relief, or the thugs with the white tank tops on and the the baggy pants, the drug dealers or whatever. But there's so much Hispanic representation in this movie specifically that just shows these just Hispanic American people who are just living their lives and are the main characters of their story, and in a completely uncliche way.
I think that's what I mean really resonates with the audience, the people that love In the Heights, is just simply because even if you're not Hispanic, the story of In the Heights, at least in the musical, obviously the movie hasn't come out yet, but it talks about a lot of different things. It talks about race in a very real way. It talks about just how people react to certain situations. There's a certain scene, again, not trying to spoil anything, where the power goes out and different people react in different ways, and kind of the stereotypical people that you would think would be kind of on the negative side of the law, they end up protecting things. And it's a really cool look into, well, I mean, it's still a musical, so obviously you don't have people singing and dancing in real life. But it's a really cool look into like just a corner of the world, just
a corner of America specifically.
Yeah, a corner of just New York City, the culture and everything that's in there. And gosh, it's an excellent
production. It's an excellent show. It's deserving of every Tony Award that it's won, in my opinion.
For sure.
I mean, like, everybody loves Hamilton, right? But like, it's Lin's, and Hamilton has absolutely got to be Lin's like masterpiece, but you wouldn't have a Hamilton if you didn't have an In the Heights first. And for any fan of Hamilton, you're gonna love In the Heights, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like a lot of the cadence of, I mean, it's Lin Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, a lot of the flow, a lot of the writing, like the flow and the melodic, process of the way that songs are written. You can tell it's the same writer and the same influences as far as urban hip hop, as far as like freestyle, rapping and stuff. But also similar to Hamilton, there's a lot of like Latin percussive elements, more so in the Heights, because it specifically focuses on a lot of Hispanic music and communities. So with that being said, let's talk about the shirt that you're wearing, why you're wearing it, the poster behind you.
Slightly
and why,
uncomfortable, I have to say. The shirt is slightly
it's
uncomfortable.
A little small. Is it a little small now?
A little bit.
So explain to everybody watching what the shirt you're wearing is, why it's significant to you, and why having this conversation about In the Heights, you have a specific knowledge about it that even I don't have from experience.
Yes. So if you look at this poster, I know it's kind of hard to see, and I might get it down and take a picture of it, and we could throw it up on the screen. But in this picture, this was actually a company performance that I was in the Heights, and I played a character called Graffiti Pete. And for those of you that don't know, at least in the musical, he is the one that kind of kicks off the entire musical. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but in the end, he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he has his moments. He has his shining moments for sure. Yeah,
but he's having played him, at least how I played him, how I understood his character and studied his character, he's kind of a street rat that he spray paints things. He's a very talented tagger, and he starts the show off by spray painting Usnavi's building, the wall, his shop, the side of his shop, and that's kind of what kicks off the lights up on Washington Heights up at the that's what.
Yeah, but he's
right before that.
Your character, specifically Graffiti Pete, is mentioned by the fourth verse of "I've got this little punk I gotta chase away," which is literally referencing Graffiti Pete opening up the show.
Exactly. And I'm not sure, they might change that for the movie, for the whatever they changed in the writing room for the movie, but. Personally, I have a really strong connection with In the Heights. It was I did theater all through high school. When I got out of high school, I had no theater. I just kind of was itching to do theater, and found actually a friend of mine from high school texted me and was like, "Hey, they're doing auditions. This company is doing auditions for In the Heights. You should go and audition." And it was a Sunday morning. I remember this very vividly. Walking into church with our dad, and it's a Sunday morning, and I was like, "Hey, I just got this text. What should I do?" And he was like, "You should go and do it." Like straight up, I was working at the church at the time. I was working for him at the time, and he was like, "Just go do it." And so I ran, downtown to this audition, auditioned for Graffiti Pete, and there was a whole dance audition that I had to go through, a singing audition. I'm not the best singer, but apparently, Graffiti Pete only has like 5 or 6 lines in the entire show.
Yeah, and a lot of them are more rapping than singing.
Yeah, right? Yeah, a lot of voice lines. A lot of harmonies that I had to learn, but I ran across town, did the audition, and I was like, man, I did so bad. And going back and just kind of defeated, going about my day. And then later that day, I got a call, and they're like, "Hey, would you like to be Graffiti Pete in our show?" And I was like, "I would love to be Graffiti Pete," and did rehearsals for months and months, grew really close to all the people that were in that show. It was an amazing cast, and that's where this poster came from. This was actually the posters that we put up to advertise the show, and I'm on this poster as Graffiti Pete, and it's really cool. But this shirt in the show, there's a part where Graffiti Pete comes out in the middle of 2 songs, and he comes out and he's basically trying to sell airbrush t-shirts because he's a graffiti artist.
He's Graffiti Pete, obviously. It's in the name. If someone hasn't picked up on that by now, Graffiti Pete is known around town in the musical for being a tagger and a graffiti artist. So he's trying to sell shirts that he's tagged up, and so the shirt you're wearing. This shirt
in the show that we did, this was the shirt. It says Washington Heights across the top, and our dad actually painted this.
He spray painted
it, and I've had this. I don't wear it all that much because it was a little small on me. It's a little you're uncomfortable.
You're a little bit older and broader than you were.
2016, graduated in 2014, so 2016 or 2017. Yeah, so I'm a little bit bigger than I was then. But I had to kind of dig through a drawer because I wanted to put this on for for this episode. But he made this, and just kind of funny. This shirt, he actually spelled heights wrong. on the shirt. Yeah, so it says he got the T and the H backwards. I don't know if you can see that, but he kind of fixed it. There's a line here that said a T, and he fixed it. Walked into the living room, and I was like, I don't think that's spelled right.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh no. So he fixed this one and then ended up making a different one. And so the other one, I actually signed, had the cast sign, and we gave to the director of the show.
Cool.
And so I kept this one. And so it's very special to me because it's misspelled, and it's just like fit Graffiti Pete so well.
The misspelling and everything, even though it was unintentional, kind of unintentionally fits with the way that the character is portrayed in the musical.
Exactly. So
That's
obviously
awesome.
used this in the show. Our dad was again, I don't want to spoil anything, because that, if we talk about that's like the crux of the entire.
Yeah, our dad was
he was involved in the
very influential in the finale for a specific reason that I'm sure people will find out, because I'm sure it's in the movie.
I don't know how they wouldn't do that. If Graffiti Pete's in the movie at all,
which he is.
We've seen him in the trailers. Then that
we've
scene
heard
has
him
to
in
be
we've heard
there.
him in 96,000.
Yep. That's a lot of spray cans.
Yeah. And then they changed his line.
They did.
We don't have to say what his original line is.
Yeah,
because his original line was pretty
risque.
Was rude. You even didn't say his original
censored
line.
it myself when we were on stage, and I actually got in trouble from the composer, the guy that was doing the composition for everything. He pulled me off after that song, and he was like, "Hey, why didn't you say the line?" And I was like, I just don't feel comfortable in front of an audience saying. I mean, it's not like bad, but it's just like.
Yeah,
uncomfortable when my
there's a couple.
Abuela's in the room, when Lala's sitting in the audience. I'm like, I don't want to say that.
There's a couple. I mean, if you really think about it, there's like the first part that's kind of inappropriate, and then honestly, the reference at the end is kind of also, I guess, racially not. I guess. Anyway, they changed it to. I think he says, "I've got more flow than Obi-Wan Kenobio." Is that right?
I got more flow than Obi-Wan Kenobios, which doesn't make sense, which actually makes sense
kind of
in the context. Basically, Graffiti Pete's always trying to keep up with Usnavi and Benny in the show, and he's always trying to rap with them, but he's not good at it. And so changing that line actually made it make more sense in the context, and it's a lot cleaner than the original.
It's a lot less offensive for sure. That's awesome. So it's been a Broadway musical. It's finally coming out. It's been in development for really since the Tony Award winning year that it had. With originally, obviously, Lin Manuel plays, Usnavi, kind of the main character, the narrative, voice of the show, who opens it up, closes it out. Obviously, Lin was, gonna play Usnavi originally, but as development went on for years and years and years, it got to the point where it was like, I'm sure, it got to the point where Lin was like, I'm too old to play this guy who's supposed to be in his early to mid 20s, maybe like a young, cool guy. Like Lin's in his 40s. Like he's just not Usnavi anymore.
I mean, he's still a really cool guy, but he's just,
he's not the character anymore. So it's pretty cool though. We can talk about this for a second. Anthony Ramos, who is playing Usnavi, has a very specific baton pass from Lin.
Yes.
For people who don't know, which is pretty cool. And I don't think it was. There's no way this was intentional, but the way that it just things like this happen is just very cool. That when obviously Lin went on after In the Heights to write Hamilton, perform in Hamilton, right, and he plays Alexander Hamilton, and he has a son in the musical named Philip.
Yep.
And Philip was played by a singer and actor named Anthony Ramos, who
ironically
now plays
is the same guy
who now plays Lin's character in the film version of In the Heights. So he went from playing Lin's son
It's pretty wild.
one musical to he played Usnavi in like a Broadway, you know, performance thing. And then now he's playing Usnavi, but it's kind of cool, like the
dynamic of
dynamic of like, oh, he played Lin's son for, you know, however many years that they were doing Hamilton, and now he's taken the baton pass from Lin to play his character again. You know, it's pretty interesting.
In a way, it kind of, the way Lin casts on both his Broadway shows and seemingly the movies that he's in is to me, very reminiscent of Adam Sandler. And
like he's got his core group of people that squad, are always his squad's always going to be a part of it.
Is
absolutely.
I mean, Moana, right? Moana's dad.
Yeah, obviously, Abuela Claudia is being played by the same actress who played her on Broadway.
That's so stinking cool. Gosh, that's amazing.
And even Christopher Jackson, who plays the original Benny, is going to be in the Heights. Mm-hmm. And then Lin has a very specific and special role in the Heights as well. That's not Usnavi.
Yeah.
But
plays
is
Piragua guy.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure that's the character doesn't actually have a name. He just is a guy who sells piragua, which is shaved ice. Yeah, that's his entire character.
Shaved flavored ice.
The guy that sells shaved ice.
And Christopher Jackson is apparently going to be Mr. Softy.
Really?
So that'll be cool. So for anybody who's a fan of In the Heights, if you're not a fan, you have no idea what I'm talking about. For anybody who
I'm aware that I said Leslie Odom Jr. I did mean Christopher Jackson. I apologize. I'm not as well versed in the pop culture stuff as David is, but
Christopher Jackson does have a cameo. The original Benny has a cameo as Mr. Softy.
That's crazy. Who is the rival to the Piragua guy?
Yeah.
To Lin's character in that's so cool. I didn't know that because he's uncredited, or he's not credited. He's credited, but it doesn't actually have the character's name on IMDb. And so I was like, oh, Chris Jackson's in here. Who's he playing?
The movie's been in development for a long time. I've been following it for a long time. There are some changes that are happening with any cinematic adaptation of a book or a musical or a TV show. There are always changes that are made. Yeah. Obviously, we've noticed just from the fact that a couple singles have dropped for the movie that certain lines have been changed, certain characters have been pulled out.
And honestly, some of them did surprise me. Listening to both the title track In the Heights, which is the opening sequence, the opening scene for the movie, and 96,000, which is arguably the most popular of all the songs in the show. It surprised me. Personal opinion, I did not like 96,000 nearly as much as
I agree
Broadway.
with you, and I told you that when we were talking a little bit about it, and I called you to tell you that 96,000 had been released, and I told you, I was like, it just doesn't hit the same.
And I quickly hung up on you, and I was like, I'm gonna go look it up. So I listened to it in the car, and I was like,
and I'm sure it's gonna hit. I'm sure it's gonna be a lot better with the visual and the whole thing. Yeah. But like just the I don't know what it is about the mix or what, it just doesn't have the same
it's not as like
punch
raw
or energy, or I don't know what it is, but it's still good. It's not bad.
And I believe, was it the Instagram advertisement that you showed me earlier that was that it shows a portion of 96,000, or was that the other ad that you showed me? It shows a portion of that song, and it shows Sonny and his portion of that song, which is a really, really cool, verse in that song. In the movie, apparently they're in a swimming pool.
Yeah, for that scene. I think the whole 96,000, because in the trailer, they're walking to the pool, and Sonny runs up and says, "We sold a winning number," all the stuff, as Benny and Usnavi and Graffiti Pete and Sonny. It's the four of them. Graffiti Pete's in that shot. They're walking to, I guess, go to the pool because it's a super hot day.
It's hot
because unlike the Broadway musical, I believe the movie is going to take place over like a week or 2 weeks, like in the summer. so it's not going to be as like condensed down to a few days. So they've got a day off and they're going to the pool. So
Yeah.
It looks like from the trailer that scene is just going to take place at like a public pool, and there's going to be like a bunch of dancing and splashing around in the water.
And just from, I mean, the idea in the musical is that they start saying 96,000, and then the
spreading
rumor
like
spreads
wildfire
throughout the city, and so then everyone in the different parts of the city are talking about 96,000 because everyone knows that Usnavi sold a winning lottery ticket. So everyone's like checking to see, did I win? Because he's, I mean, at least in the Broadway show, he's the only one that sells lottery tickets. So all these different people that have gotten them from him are like, yo, check my ticket. And so I think it'll be really cool to see how they adapt that into a movie, and they can actually do it to a scale where it's like it actually is growing like a fungus throughout the whole city, and everybody's kind of getting pumped up about that, but centrally located around this pool. It's a really cool concept. Something else I did notice toward the end of the song, there's a portion that after the aforementioned Sonny's verse, in the musical, it goes from Sonny's verse into Vanessa saying, "You are so cute," and he says, "Oh, I was just thinking off the top of my head." And then Usnavi looks at Vanessa and says, "96K, go." And then she starts her verse. In the version that was released as an advertisement,
they pulled that line.
They separated it, which just, this could be true, it could be not true. I haven't obviously seen the movie yet, but I was talking to Rachel about this the other day, and I was like, my assumption is that they're going to end the song there and then carry on to a different scene. And then
if I win the lottery, you'll never see me again. That whole part, because it's kind of its own separate song.
It is.
So it might, that whole conversation between Usnavi and Vanessa might take place not at the pool, somewhere else. When they're separated.
He might leave there to go and like meet her to say, "Hey,
96,000
go. Tell me what you do with it." And because he still interacts with her in that scene, and so it's just I'm so intrigued by how they are going to shift all the different aspects of the movie and adapt it to all the different aspects of the show and adapt it to a movie setting. We also,
I think it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we also talked about In the Heights. There's a pretty significant change to the lyrics of In the Heights.
And specifically characters.
Specifically a character that seems to be completely deleted from the cast.
What's Nina's mom's name? Kevin and...
Camila Rosario, yeah. So
Camila Rosario, in the original play, you have a character named Nina who's come home from college for the summer. Her parents own a limousine service in Washington Heights. A cab company. I'm sorry about that. And they just kind of pulled the mom out of the equation for the movie, which I think makes more sense from a cinematic and a writing perspective. It's sad to see that character like on the cutting room floor, especially when you're listening to the song for the first time and you and I both already know the lyrics. So that whole part where next up to bat, the Rosarios.
They run the cab company. They struggle in the barrio.
Isn't that line anymore?
It's not.
It changes, and then even the whole banter back and forth between Usnavi and the Rosarios versus Usnavi and now Kevin is like a completely different flow. And oh my God, you're so excited! That whole thing is like. The first time I heard it, I was like, "Where am I?"
I was like, "Oh, that." It just felt kind of gross. But then when I listened to it again, I was like, okay, I get it. Like after we had briefly discussed that, from a writing standpoint, from a screenwriting standpoint,
and from a film standpoint and a story standpoint, it makes sense to turn Kevin Rosario. I'm making many assumptions about the story at this point, and we'll see if our predictions are correct when the movie comes out. But my assumption is they've pulled Camila And they've made Kevin Rosario a single father struggling to pay for his daughter to live her dreams and go to school.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that they're either going to do one of two things, where Abuela Claudia is going to become more of the mother figure for Nina and Kevin.
Because
and
in the show, she typically just is a mother figure for Usnavi
and Sonny.
And Sonny partially, but that never really gets fleshed out as much as Usnavi. It's like even in the first song when they introduce her, you know, that's Abuela Claudia. She's not really my abuela, but she practically raised me. Like that, their relationship is developed a lot. And I mean, it's hinted that, you know, she had a part in all of these kids that grew up in Washington Heights. She had a part in all of their lives. But that was never really explored in the show, which, like you were saying, it seems like a really cool addition to that by subtracting. They subtracted Camila to... Yeah, and again, this is all assumption, but seemingly, hopefully, I mean, that would be a really cool plot line.
The prediction, I think my prediction is that they're going to fill that void with more of a more heartfelt story about a single father, which, you know, I think will play well with just modern culture, and also will play well in a cinematic standpoint between the struggle between Nina not feeling that she can communicate with her father because they're the only two and she doesn't want to disappoint him. Yeah. Obviously we lose a number called Enough, which is a lot of people's
that's one of my favorite songs. It's such a good song.
But either that song is going to be replaced with Abuela Claudia bringing them back together, or potentially there was a song like in the off-Broadway that Benny kind of brings them back together and makes them talk to each other. Yeah. And I could see that also being a pull for the relationship between Kevin and Benny, who is the romantic kind of character with Nina, Kevin's daughter Nina, and best friend to Usnavi. For people who've never heard of this, who don't know this musical, they're just off.
Just to clarify, Nina is the daughter of the Rosarios, or in the movie's case, the one Rosario, and she has been in college for a number of for a year. It's
like her first year in college,
and she comes back home. And kind of is trying to figure out where her place is in the world. And she's noticing more and more, without spoiling anything, that maybe college necessarily isn't where she wants to be. And so that whole conversation is kind of what drives a wedge between kind of her and her father. She doesn't know how to talk to him about it. And I mean, everything... Like movies do, is bottlenecks and gets to a boiling point. But the song that we're referring to that her mom Camila sings is basically pulling her father and Nina back together again, and getting them to communicate and talk to each other. And it's a really, really cool song.
And it's a good, she kind of lays it out for them as, you don't realize that you both are so similar, and that's why you're having all these issues, because you're both hard-headed, you're both stubborn, you're both, you both don't want to disappoint the other one, and you're willing to hide things and make mistakes, to save face, or to, try to save each other, when really all you need to do is just talk to each other. Because you're more alike than you're willing to admit.
He's it's very much what's the story? There's the Mickey Mouse cartoon there's a Mickey Mouse Christmas cartoon based off of it. Right. Sorry, my computer is restarted again.
You mean just that classic story of the two that, he sells his watch to buy her the thing, and she sells her thing to buy him the chain for the pocket watch.
That's very much the concept of what's happening with Nina and her father. He's wanting to give her the world and doing whatever it takes to get that, where she is wanting to figure things out by herself and doesn't want help. She wants to be the one to do the thing and not just have things given to her. And that's also a completely separate plot line that is explored as well in one of the scenes. So
I hope we've done a good job at kind of explaining this musical. We've just literally been talking about this musical and just chatting about the story of it. For anybody who doesn't know what it is, I hope that we did justice and but kind of talked about it in a light that makes you want to watch the movie on HBO Max. We're going to at least try to, after the movie is released, maybe the following week sometime, get back together, you and I, and do another podcast episode or one-off episode where we just kind of review the movie and talk more in depth about the differences between the musical and the movie, as well as maybe we'll have kind of a list of things that were better than our expectations, that maybe didn't live up to our expectations, things that we think were better on the stage versus the screen.
I feel like most of the time I'm watching, I'm just gonna have like a list open, a Google Doc or something, or shared drive, and I'm gonna just be writing as many of the differences as far as the plot line or musical go as I can think of, and then probably derive my list from that of I like this, I didn't like this, but definitely get back together and kind of
looks like there's
postmortem. That's what it's called. Postmortem meeting. That's what it's called. Yeah.
And just see it. But I'm excited about the movie. It looks awesome. Like I said, John M. Chu, who's directing it, he's kind of known for like doing a lot of Step Up movies, but then he also did Crazy Rich Asians. I feel like he's one of those talented kind of up and coming directors that is really starting to break through and like get some more stuff. And I love that, I think that he was a great choice for this, obviously with Lin Manuel in like an executive producing avenue. The cast all looks awesome. There are some additional, characters that are being thrown in there as far as the salon ladies. Yeah.
What was her name?
See.
I just listened
Kuka?
to it.
I think it's Kuka.
Yeah. I have a theory about her after listening to 96,000 again. Or no, In the Heights again. I just re-listened to it before we started recording. I think she might be in love with Usnavi. Just based off the audio, it sounds like when all of them are leaving, Daniela turns back and calls her name, and then there's like a pause in the music. There's also another change. She was not in the original show. There's kind of a pause in the music, and then she says like "bye Usnavi" or something like that, and runs off.
One of them says bye and then leaves. I thought it was Carla that said bye.
I think it's
because it sounded like the actress Stephanie Beatrice. It kind of sounded like her to me, but I could be wrong.
To me, it just sounded like that was the back and forth on that conversation.
I think that might be an accurate prediction. I also think that potentially that might mean that Vanessa doesn't necessarily work in the salon in the movie.
I didn't even think about
she's
that.
Just that potentially, this could be wrong, but maybe Vanessa is just a friend of, she just lives in the barrio, but she doesn't necessarily. But that would take a lot of different writing as far as
that's a big
where
shift
I work
in the
at the
story.
moment, and all the lyrics for It Won't Be Long. Is that
It
what
Won't
it's
Be
called?
Long Now.
It Won't Be Long Now. There's a lot of lyrics in there about the neighborhood salon, So, but I'm curious to see if maybe they wrote her out of the salon and she's just more like another girl in the community.
Yeah.
And she just kind of like goes to the salon for No Me Diga.
Yeah. No Me Diga.
With Nina, because they're best friends or whatever, but she doesn't necessarily work there. I don't know. But I thought that too, that maybe if they added a salon character, that maybe they pulled Vanessa out and she's just this struggling girl who is trying to, obviously in the trailers they've shown that she's got,
that's not really a spoiler.
Yeah. And they've shown in the trailers that she's got, she's into fashion, and, there's the whole scene where he's at her apartment and she's showing him all the designs that she's made, and she says, this is the real me. And so we'll see.
That's something that's always kind of bugged me about the musical is we know that Vanessa, at least in the musical, doesn't know what she wants to do. She just wants to get out of the barrio, but they don't explain what she wants to do, what her ambitions are. So she just, on some levels, just seems kind of a static character. But if that's the case, that actually gets me really excited to see how they would have changed that character.
Yeah, in all fairness, like there's not much you can do in a stage show as far as development and timing wise, and all the turnarounds and all the vamps where the lights go out and they're changing sets and just
quick changes, changing clothes,
and you just have
the
the Coraline just singing the O's while they're just going back.
Those TikToks are the most accurate thing. Have you seen those?
No.
Where it's like a person that'll be sitting like this and they'll be singing as if this is, sorry, you can't hear me, as if the audience is behind them, and so they'll be in the middle of a song and then singing and then acting as if they're walking off stage, and they'll be doing like a costume change, just like talking to
singing, and then
one of the cast
like,
members, like, and then
singing their parts.
Hold on, like sing a part, and then sorry, what was that? Like, it's such a cool like visual, because that's exactly how it is, trying to hold a conversation while still paying attention to two places at once. It's so cool.
Absolutely. But there will be a lot more time to like develop characters in a movie aspect where 5 minutes on a stage versus 5 minutes on a screen is very different.
There's no jump cuts on a stage.
Yeah, and you can get a lot more emotion out of 5 minutes on a screen versus a stage production. So I think that and I agree with you as far as Vanessa's character, her whole character development, her whole biography in the musical, in the stage musical, is I don't want to live here anymore. I want to go somewhere else. But like you said, you never know why. You never. So it kind of portrays her as just kind of this weird, like, ungrateful girl, and not like, she, like you said, you don't know her ambitions. You don't know her dreams. You don't know why she wants to leave Washington Heights. You don't know why she wants to, if I win the lottery, you'll never see me again. You don't, there's no like reasoning for that in the musical, really, besides just taking her word for it that she's got something going on that we don't know about, but you never really find out about it. So I do think that they're going to give her more of a character development and more of a dream as well, instead of just her just being this random kind of floating pretty
like
girl.
A very centralized character, like one of the main characters in the show, but like actually going back and thinking about her journey, like through the musical, like her personal journey is like, okay, she starts by wanting to leave, and then I don't want to spoil anything. In the middle, she wants to leave, and then she gets the opportunity to leave, and it's like, okay, like, you're working at the salon, but what are you doing to get to a place where you can leave? Like, what do you want to do when you get out? Like, you live in New York. Making her wanted to get into fashion, it makes so much sense, and I would love that if that was.
My prediction is that they've pulled the neighborhood salon doesn't pay me what I want, blah blah blah, and they have replaced those lyrics with more dream specific lyrics for her.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that character development would be incredible.
That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I think that there are definitely going to be some changes as far as her character arc is concerned, to give her a little bit more of just a general understanding of, this is what she's after. You know?
These are her ambitions, her goals. Yeah.
And two, because of her romance with Usnavi, that makes the tension of things that happen later on even more of a pull than just like,
it hurts more.
Well, it hurts more if she's really working on this one thing and he's really working on this one thing, and it looks like they're both gonna get it, but at the expense. At first they're
like this, and then they start moving this way, right when they could be going toward each other, and it's just for sure. Yep.
So we'll see. I guess so. We'll follow this specific talk up with a very specific In the Hype Part 2 review of In the Heights. where we'll just talk about the movie itself more in depth.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If there's anybody that's watching this that you have questions about In the Heights, maybe you want to know something specific about the musical, the next episode of In the Hype.
Yeah.
The next episode of In the Hype will be spoilers. Probably like a short period where we're not going to spoil anything, but like a majority of that will be. So if you have any questions about the show, the stage show, the theatrical production of In the Heights, please drop them in the comments below and like just throw them at us. And
Yeah.
Or
this is a perfect segue. Or you can join the Podzilla Discord.
Yes.
You can join the Podzilla Discord. There's going to be some sort of link somewhere on one of us, a QR code that you can scan.
Just
you
put
can
it on my
also
head.
follow. Yeah, it'll be
Right here.
over your face.
Yeah.
You can also follow the link down below.
Oh, wait, can I? It's already gone. It's too late. Man, dropped it.
Missed it. But you can also follow the link down below. The Discord is where we have most of our community, where we talk with people, where we chat with people. So join the Discord, ask some questions, and also just let us know in future episodes what you want conversation to be about on future episodes of Podzilla.
Yeah.
You can follow Podzilla on Instagram at The Podzilla Show. You can also email us if you want to send some sort of nice email or some sort of question or some sort of idea there, and you don't want to get on the Discord for whatever reason. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you can also send us emails at thepodZillaShow@gmail.com.
For sure.
And I think that's pretty much it as far as socials are concerned.
Yeah.
Also, Johnny, plug KTTK, plug your Discord, plug
For sure.
where can people hear Keys to the Kingdom.
Is it possible to get a QR code for that? I've never tried to get a QR code for our Discord. How hard is that to set up? Okay, well,
Not hard.
If you want to join the Keys to the Kingdom Discord, you can click. There's a QR code on David's
do one
head
on my
now.
face.
Yeah, there it is. Follow that. Most of our socials, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch are all KTTK Cast, Keys to the Kingdom Cast, but KTTK. And you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube. No, you can find us on YouTube at Keys to the Kingdom. We've been periodically uploading our episodes with kind of a cool visualized element. We actually just got through uploading the episodes that David was in, both episodes 10 and 10.5. And those are super cool. If you want to just catch the ones that David is in, you can jump on the YouTube channel. It might be in the description somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
those episodes specifically, you don't really have to know a whole lot about the main plot to even listen to those. Those are just kind of like their own little like one-off episodes.
I'd say this: go and listen to those if you want to just check out Keys to the Kingdom, see what it's all about. Those two episodes, they're both around an hour, maybe an hour and a half each. So at most 3 hours of your life listening to cool content about Disney and fun
it's
stuff.
Disney inspired. Disney inspired for sure.
For sure. But go check those out on YouTube. And if you're intrigued with the story at all, if you like the writing or like the characters, if you want to know more about it, go back on whatever podcasting platform that you listen to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's a bunch of other ones. It's on all of them. Go back and catch up to the episodes.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Podzilla. I want to thank my brother, my sweet baby brother, Johnny, for being on this episode. I really enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed this very intellectual chat about In the Heights.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was fun. And we'll definitely do another episode following the release of the movie. This
has been so much fun. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. This is awesome.
I was happy to.
So cool.
It's a blast. It's a blast just talking about some fun stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Let us know if you're looking forward to In the Heights, if you've never even heard of In the Heights. And two, let us know what your favorite musical is. Why not?
Oh, hey. That's fun.
If you made it this far, thank you so much. This is how you know who the real people are. When they comment down below and they actually ask you, this is when you know who the real ones are. But
for sure.
Until next time, always remember, Lin Manuel Miranda is a national treasure.
Thank you for joining us on PODZILLA. And always remember, be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.